Well, welcome everyone. I'm excited to be here. My name is Richard Foster and I am your instructor for CS210. C++ is one of my favorite programs to teach my programming languages. It is pretty extensive, but C++ is my favorite language. So what I want to do is introduce you to Visual Studio, answer a few questions that I get asked quite frequently. So let me start off with, do you need to use Visual Studio? And the answer is yes and no. So let's start off with the no first. If you have Mac, then you're going to have to download Xcode or use the VDI. The VDI is not very user-friendly, so downloading Xcode is much easier for you. You can work on your own computer and everything will be local. Same thing with Visual Studio. The other question I get is, should I use Visual Studio Code or should I use the full-blown version of Visual Studio? And the answer is really better to use the full-blown version of Visual Studio because number one, it's free, and number two, it has more features, and number three, when you get into the more advanced programming, like when we do the clock and we do some of the other ones that are in classes, you'll see how much easier it is to create the project, zip the project, and then submit the project itself. So let's start off by opening up Visual Studio, which I've already done. And you'll get the first time, you're going to get a screen that looks like this. Just click on Code. Now, you won't have anything here, so just click on Code. When you install Visual Studio, you need to make sure that you install the C++ modules. I'm going to do a little tutorial on how to do that. Of the Visual Studio Explorer. It's really very easy. So I'm going to create a new project. And I'm going to use C++. Now notice over here I have a drop down. So in here I have C# installed, F#, Java, Python, and a whole bunch of other things. We're going to stick to C++, and we're going to be using an empty project. So we'll click on Next, and then it gives me an option as to where I'm going to save it. So let's just go, we'll call it Intro to CS210. So that's fairly simple. Notice I have place, solution, and project in the same directory. You always want to have that checked. And the reason for that is if you don't, then you're going to get one extra directory that you're going to need to try to navigate through to get all of your code. It's much easier to place it, the check mark there. So let's click on Create, and we have absolutely nothing. So what I'm going to do here is right click on Source Files. Now, if you do not get the Solution Explorer up here, just go to View, and as soon as I find it, we'll go there. There it is. And click on Solution Explorer. That takes it off, and it takes it on. So either way, you're good. So now we have it. I'm going to right click on Source Files. And we're going to add a new item. So then the first thing we're going to do here is put in a decent name, and we'll just call it Intro. And we'll click on Add. Now, if you have an earlier version of Visual Studio, it'll probably say Source. And it'll be a little bit different. So I want to paste some information that I already put to save myself typing. And I obviously cannot do that. So let's go back to my Word document, which I'm now going to show you. Up top here, these are things that are required. And here are items that are not required, but highly recommended. So let's start with the requiring. Now this is only on C++ programs that you physically submit to me. There's going to be a bunch of them that you have to do. And you also have the labs that you're going to be putting in. So you'll see what I'm talking about with the Zyback labs. There's a separate video for the Zyback labs that I use. So Zybooks lets you do things that are really not in good practice, but it does let you do it. So I want to make sure that you understand, look at the videos. And even if you get a good grade in Zybooks, does not mean you're going to get the same grade when you submit it. So you'll see more if you look at the video on what I'm talking about. So what's required on the top of anything that you submit is three things. You want to have, on the top of the program, you want to have your name, the assignment, and the purpose of the program. So let me copy that. And I'll go to Visual Studio. And I want to make a comment. So there's two ways to make a comment. This is a single line comment, and this is a multi-line comment. So notice that it puts in the starting and the ending. So what I want to do here is just put these things in. So you're going to put in here whatever your name is, whatever the assignment is, and this purpose of this program will get two numbers, add them together, and get the average. So to start the program, you need to do a couple things. First thing is put in include IOStream. Without that, you will not be able to do input or output. And the next thing is using namespace. Now, I actually have a video, and there's other videos out there as to the advantages and disadvantages of using namespace. So we're not going to really talk about that right now. We just leave it as is. So I'm going to make a function called main. You must have a function called main in order to run a C++ program. And notice that I have a curly brace here. As soon as I put one, then it does the other one. So let's go and put in a comment. Now, I highly recommended that you put in comments at the end of every closing brace for what it's going to be for. So if you have a for, you're going to put /for. If you have an if, it's going to be /if. If it's an else, /else. This will help you when you start doing nested functions and nested if statements and a whole bunch of other things, and all of a sudden one brace gets deleted. It throws your whole program off, and it's almost almost impossible to find out. So it's been a long day for me. My mouth and my brain are not coordinating. I've been on the go since 7:30 this morning, so please forgive me. So let me go and make a few things here. So the next thing is I want to address declaring variables. So all variables need to be declared on a separate line with a comment about its purpose, and all variables should be initialized. So let's put a simple here. So we'll have all variables declared on a separate line, all comment with a comment about its purpose. So what that means is there we go. I knew I could get rid of that one. So what that means is we're going to declare a variable of type integer, and let's just say that we wanted to get 3 numbers. Now, Zybooks will show you to do this, and a lot of other books will show you to do this. It's really not a good idea. Will it work? Absolutely. But it's not good programming. And every line, of course, has to end in a semicolon. The way that I would like you to do it is put them all on separate lines. So let's go and do it properly. And I want to initialize them all to 0. See how easy it is now to initialize them? So one thing is Visual Studio would automatically set num1, num2, and num3 to 0. However, other compilers might not, such as Dreamscape or some of the Eclipse or some of the other ones might not. So it's always a good habit to initialize it to 0. So then I can comment each code. And purpose of num2. And that takes care of that. So let's go and we'll finish up the required things. Each CN should have a separate prompt with an end L. Now, we're not at functions yet, so we'll talk about that later on. So let's put this here. And we'll go back to Visual Studio. So let's go and create, let's say we wanted to get these three numbers. So I'm going to put C out, and then I'm going to put my prompt. Please enter a number. Now, notice I'm going to put a space, but I'm going to take the space out so I can show you what it's going to look like if you don't. Then I'm going to do CIN, which stands for console in. And notice the IntelliSense bringing up everything as I'm typing. So let's go and num. Now look what happened as soon as I start typing NU. It gives me to there. I believe Visual Studio Code does as well. And I also believe Xcode does as well. So let's go and run this program. The easiest way to run it is just click up top here. You don't really need the debugging. So let's click here. And let's see what it looks like. So it looks kind of cramped. So fine, we'll just close this here. And let's put in a space. Now that looks a lot better. So now the next thing we're going to do is what you should not do is put in an end line. So what that will do, it'll make it a little bit harder for the user to read what's going on. So let's take a look here. And now we have our prompt down here. It just doesn't look the same. So what you want to do is have everything on one line. And one thing you also do not want to do, even though it's legal, is to do CIN, and then we'll do num1, num2, and num3. Now, when you do some of the Zybooks labs, it's going to ask you to do that, but I have no control over that. When you submit the actual lab to me, you don't want to have this. What you want to have is, please enter number 1, CIN num1. Then let's do, we'll just copy this, and we'll do CIN num2, and then we'll do the same thing, and CIN num3. And then we can do whatever we want. And there's going to be some other things that I'll be coming up with, but I want to just make this as an introductory video. One of the other things I don't recommend doing is, say we wanted to print out the sum. Let's just go see out the sum is, and then we could do, now I always recommend putting parentheses around any calculations. And we'll do an end line. What I prefer to do is create a variable called sum, calculate the sum, and the reason for that is it's much easier to make a mistake. Plus, if I have a variable called sum, I can use that somewhere else. Maybe I want to get now what the average is. So then I would have to add these up again. So let's run this program real quick and see if it actually works. So add three numbers together. We'll do 1, 2, and 3, and we should get 6 if I've done this right. And the sum is 6. So that is it for this introductory video. Try to get video. And I will be here. If you need me to make a specific video on something, I will. I will be making a separate video that's introducing you to my YouTube channel. I have a special one just set up for CS210. And you'll be seeing inside of the announcements, you're going to be seeing the videos that I have set up already for week 1. So let's go and look real quick there. And let me go and sign in here. That's the wrong one. And we still have the wrong one here. Okay, working on it. And I don't have it open. Let me just open up this in a new tab. And I'll show you where all my videos are. Now, I am teaching two sessions of this class, so I'm not sure which one you're in, but I'm glad that you're here. So let's go to here, and I'm going to go to announcements. And you can see that I have, this is for how to do the lab, and I have how to declare variables. I'm giving you some Zybook hints on how to do Zybooks. Here is C++ best practices, and here is just a little welcome to week 1. This is an introductory video that I made, so I also recommend that you subscribe to my channel and leave any comments that you have. So always be looking at these videos. They're very, very helpful, at least I believe. Let me know how they are. They're on YouTube, so you can actually open up YouTube, and then you can leave a comment, what you like, what you don't like. Can you make a video on this? Subscribe to my channel. And that's all I have for right now. So again, I welcome you to this class. And if there's anything that I can do, I'm only an email away. Have a great, 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 great day.